Welcome to SchoolAI. Today we're going to explore the SchoolAI browser extension, and I'm going to show you 3 ways I love to use it in my classroom. The first way that I love to use SchoolAI is with writing assignments. This allows me to give faster, more meaningful writing feedback right inside of a document. But first I need to create a rubric to support my students so they know the learning expectations and the goals. Over here in the corner or along the side, you're going to see the SchoolAI icon. I can click it and immediately on that right side, I have the browser and I have the SchoolAI extension right by my side. Here I'm able to stay focused on the work in front of me, but also have a thought partner to help me create a resource. I need to create a resource for my students as a rubric to really support them with knowing what the expectation is for this writing assignment. You can see here I've gotten started with what I kind of want, but I need to take this a little bit more further to really support my students with those learning outcomes. I'm going to create a resource and I need a rubric so my students know those expectations when it comes to writing this Great Gatsby essay. From here, I can share a little bit more context about my class. I'm also able to share the success criteria that I hope my students achieve from this essay. Once I have that kind of drafted out, I'm able to hit enter. And in a few moments, we're going to have a rubric that we're able to edit or use to support our students with knowing what the expectation is for this paragraph. And we can use this rubric to help us give feedback to our students as they're working through their essay. You can see it's drafting right here. And after it's done creating our rubric, we have a couple options. We can edit this right in SchoolAI and make changes to the rubric if we need to. We can also export this into a Microsoft Google document or a PDF. I'm going to save mine as a PDF because I want to show you my next favorite thing when it comes to giving student feedback. Here I have a student's work about their Great Gatsby. So they went ahead and wrote out their thoughts and ideas about this essay. But I want to see the whole writing journey. This is the final draft of this student's work. I can click on that SchoolAI extension, and from here, I'm able to go into writing analysis. When I go into writing analysis, I have 3 options: summary, inline, and revision history. I want to see that whole journey to coach my student. I can see as Tucker's working on this activity, where he's deleting, where he's changing, where he might be adding in different thoughts or ideas. I can see how many pastes, how many hours, how many edits, and how many authors have been on the document. This can be really helpful as I'm trying to see where was Tucker's thinking going and how can I support and coach this student throughout their writing to really support and help this student grow and make changes as needed. The next thing that I like to do is give feedback. Feedback can be done in 2 different ways. Again, I'm going to click on that Chrome extension, and this time I can go into that writing analysis. From here, I have summary feedback. This is great if I want to give a clear overview to my students of what's working and where they can improve. But I also have inline comments too. These are going to be along the side of a Google document. Let's start with summary feedback. From summary feedback, I choose the grade level. I can choose if I want it to be lightweight, standard, or even rigorous. From here, I can then add a little prompt to what I'm hoping for when it comes to giving this student feedback. I can also attach a document, which is really important because we already created our rubric in that first step with SchoolAI. So let me attach my rubric and let me add just some additional thoughts and ideas that I might have for my inline summary kind of feedback that we have. So I want to place a grade on a scale of 1 to 5 according to my rubric. It's attached to my rubric, and now we're ready to generate. In just a few moments, we are going to have summary feedback. This is going to be great feedback for my students. This is going to go at the top of the document for my students to easily see their overall score of this writing assignment. This allows me to edit if I need to make any changes at all to this summary. I'm able to do so. Once it's all complete, I'm able to add it to the document, and I'm still able to edit any changes once it's added to the document as well. We're almost finished with our entire score, and now I'm going to click Add to Document. And up here, you can see it get added to this document. I can also do inline comments, which can be another great way for my students to make corrections as they're working throughout a document. Inline comments is going to give certain comments right on the document for targeted feedback. I'm going to click on that inline comments, choose my grade level, choose the grading strictness, and instead of my prompt, I can change it to I want inline comments, and I only want no more than 5. I can attach that same rubric that we're working with. And once I attach that rubric, I am ready to upload that. And then I'm able to hit send so that it can provide those comments for my student. What I love about this is it won't publish those comments. So I'm able to, again, go in and make any updates or edits that I might need to make in order to support my students' thinking. This is going to be great, right? It's going to help me move faster, but I'm always one in control of what my students see. Here's that comment where I can add in a message, and I can even comment so my students will get those updates. Students can comment back directly to me, but again, it's very targeted. It shows them exactly where in this writing that I'm wanting their writing to be more clear or follow those next steps. This is great for summarizing or even giving inline comments for our students to really help them as we're diving deeper. Second, now we're going to show you how I use the extension as a planning partner on any website. This can be great when I need to go to a website and really use the content from that website to support my learners. So here I have an activity of the Titanic to support my students. I don't need to copy and paste this into another tool. I can say right here where I already work and open up that extension. Once I open up this extension, I have a lot of different options. I can create content that's adaptable. Maybe I need to translate this article into another language, or maybe I need to adjust the text level of this article as well. That can be some options under content adaptation. I can also come onto the extension and I can also create resources just like we created our rubric. When I create a resource, I have a lot of different options. I can create a presentation, a lesson plan, an IEP goal, maybe a joke to kind of warm up my students or get them excited about what we're ready to learn. Or maybe I need a lesson plan for a sub. I click on the tool that I need or the resource that I want to create. I'm able to add in some additional context. Maybe I'm out sick today and I need a lesson that's going to help my students with this time period and the Great Gatsby. I can hit enter, and in just a few moments, we're going to be able to have a lesson plan that's ready to go and created for our students. So just like using this extension can really help me create resources. We can create resources like lesson plans, worksheets, assessments, presentations, or even a quick vocabulary list. This extension uses what's on the page to draft something classroom ready in seconds. And if I need this in a document, all I have to do is say, give this to me in a document. It might also even follow up with some additional questions to really support my students with this lesson. I can provide the grade level. How many minutes, right? Do I want to read aloud? Do I want independent work? Do I have any students with any certain needs, right? And so once I provide those additional details, we're going to be able to see our lesson plan in just a few minutes. So that way we're able to use those resources. Once we have those resources created, we can again export them as a PDF, Google, or even Microsoft document, which is great when we need to quickly create resources to support our students with maybe adapting a resource or even creating some type of learning activity to make the learning sticky. Another thing that's really cool about the extension when it comes to websites and thinking about our learning and what we might need to do is this little plus sign right here. We can attach files, we can attach standards, we can even import web pages or even take screenshots. But this last right here where it says enable highlight mode can be a really great time saver as well. If a page is really long, you can highlight just a certain section of that piece. This can be really helpful for that output, so it's more focused on certain areas when we're trying to support maybe a range of learners. We can adapt content right away by using that highlighted mode. You can see here I have a couple different highlights. If I don't want this highlight anymore, I can exit out of it. I've got my blue for that first paragraph and this pink for that second paragraph. From here, I can say, translate these two sections into Spanish or whatever language I might need, or maybe need to adapt the text. This again means that it's less tab switching and it's less formatting and way more time spent on other parts of teaching that actually matter. So here we can see that we have our new version in Spanish. We've got the English up top and the Spanish down at the bottom. I can again export these resources to really support my students' need as we're working. Third, I'm going to show you how I turn a web page into a student learning experience by creating a space. In the extension, you'll also notice that there is a Create a Space button. I can choose a grade level. I can also choose if this is for student learning or maybe it's for staff if I want to use it for professional learning. I can even provide some additional details about my class or about what we're learning to create this prompt for my students. So again, I can share a little bit more about what the goal of this website is when we're creating this space. Once I provide that extra content and what I want my students to learn or produce, I'm able to generate this space. From here, it's going to create a space that can be great for my students. SchoolAI uses that built-in guided experience where students can work with their own AI sidekick. So they can explore, practice, and create at their own pace with support built in. And as my students are working through and as it's creating this space, I can come in and follow up with any additional questions it might need, or I can create my space and edit anything that I might need to edit. Once I'm all set, I'm ready to launch this to my students so that they're able to explore the Great Gatsby Thesis Workshop, where they're going to get real feedback right away as they're working through their thesis. It's going to help them as they're thinking through, giving them feedback, personalizing to their needs, and adapting based on their responses in real time. But what's even better about this is as my students are exploring and as they're being guided in the SchoolAI space, I'm able to have mission control data right here, where I can see live how my students are doing in the moment as they're working through the space. I can see which students are struggling, which students are understanding the content, and which total learning insights are taking place. But to take this even further, I'm able to open up the Chrome extension. And with the Chrome extension, I can ask more follow-up questions to really dive deeper into this data to help me see or make small groups right away. Maybe I need to summarize what my students are struggling with right now. Maybe I want to see which students look stuck, right? And what should I do to help them move on? Maybe I need some additional resources. This extension can provide me with additional details about how my students are doing in the moment as they're going through the space so I can decide which next steps and how I can support my students. Again, I can export this data or this resource as I'm kind of diving in, or I can kind of think through and add in additional thoughts or ideas as I'm going through. I can even ask it to add a quick sentence frame for maybe settings focused students like Monica and Lisa, right? And so I can add that into this space on this extension to support those students in the moment as I'm analyzing and viewing their data. This is going to be really helpful for me as I'm in the moment working with my students because I can respond right away instead of waiting for an exit ticket later. It's one of the fastest ways I know to make learning more personalized, more powerful, and more human without adding more to the teacher's workload. So that's the quick tour of the 3 ways that I use SchoolAI Browser's extension for faster writing feedback, instant classroom resources from the web, and turning content into a space where students learn with an AI sidekick. Well, you get real-time insights. Try one of these the first time you're already in your browser. Open the extension and start small. When you make support easier to give in the moment, more students feel seen, and you get more back for the conversation that changes lives.